Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. We are here to talk about the challenge, Battle for a New Champion, episode 10. My name is Allan and Geary. I'm joined by my lovely co-host. We have the Southern Luke Muncie.
What's up, guys?
And back with us is the Vermontian Zoe Trimboli.
Hi, everyone.
Melissa and Big T are now out of the game, and now that they're not the target for everyone, we got to see people actually play the game for a bit and see what their ideas are outside of just going after those two. How are you guys feeling about this episode?
I really liked it. I didn't really like last week's episode, I remember saying. I've already forgotten it. But I really did like this one. Just so much unnecessary chaos, but it was great to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited that the game seems to be beginning now. I'm excited to see all these fractures happening in these alliances and how that's going to shake out. I think we're actually going to be in for a bit of a show.
The game is to win now. The game is to play big, and now we're seeing people go after the big targets where Moriah and all these people are saying, you know what, Horacio, he's going to beat my ass in a final. We should go after him. A lot of people want to go after Kylan, in part because he's a big threat, but also just thinks he's done in the game, so it goes hand in hand together. I like to see it, though, because it's just like, if there's only one winner, you got to take out those big threats.
Yeah, it poses the question why we ever took Huey out. Like, why was he not somebody you keep around forever?
Yeah, Big T too, for that matter.
Yeah.
Who in this game? I mean, there are some people like there's people who do you think, not counting the obvious people like James who can't run, who do you think in this house is delusional about their chances of winning?
I hate to say it, but I think Olivia. Like, I think she's strong and I think she's intelligent. I don't think she has the cardio for a final.
No, I agree with that.
I don't think Raven. I like Raven, and somebody called her dumb last week, and she got upset on Twitter. I'm not calling her dumb. I don't think she has like the quick-witted thinking needed for a final.
There's a lot of people who just can't think and run at the same time.
Yeah.
And she seems to be one of them. I think that's my biggest issue with the challenges the dailies that we've seen so far this season. I don't have a good idea of what these competitors can actually do because they haven't had to do really anything. So I don't know if I have a good understanding of their abilities at this point.
Yeah, and I hate to draw back to when we were like spy themed, but it feels like when there were missions, like there was some running involved in every single mission. There was a puzzle involved. Like it actually felt like a daily that made sense. And I know we're going to talk about that later, but this season, it's kind of just a free for all, which is kind of fun. Like it's a callback to maybe older challenge seasons where everything wasn't so physical, but we've not had one that was extremely physical to show off their prowess.
Yeah, and I think like looking ahead to a final, the women are obviously at a disadvantage if there's any sort of like carrying things and physical aspect to this final. So they would be really smart of when this chaos period ends to really focus on getting out all the men.
And can we just reiterate how dumb it is that we have one winner? Like, I know it's episode 10 and I should be over it. I think about it anytime that I see a Challenge 39 tweet, how stupid it is that there's just one winner. The odds are clearly in the men's favor. And if that's true, I don't know how they would do this, not with the mercenaries, but like it wouldn't be guy girl every week. Like if you really want to have one winner and the girls want to take control of the house, that should have been a possibility.
It's battle for a new champion. I get it's a new champion, but that's your chance to have a male and a female champion. And I have a bone to pick with every single season that's had a solo winner. Like, it's not a secret. I'm not a Cara Maria fan. Do I still think it was cool for women when she won Vendettas? Yes. But did Zach also get robbed? Definitely yes.
And I hate Ninja Natalie. Bad. Yeah. But like, she completed that really hard final, which I would argue is the hardest ever. And like, she got left on the beach. It just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of them either. And I'm sure I'm going to be disappointed with this outcome too.
There's just nobody's ever happy when it comes to the one winner thing. Nobody's ever like. There's always going to be complaints about it. There's no fair way to equalize it. It feels like just have a male and female winner. Let them compete against each other. It's pretty easy. It's pretty simple. And pay them some money. Just pay them some decent money.
Yeah, and I feel like that's partly why we're just getting one here. It's not because it's like you got to prove yourself. It's a money thing. But I even think back, like at least when Kara and Turbo won on their own, like people were excited on Twitter. There was, of course, some detractors, but on a season like this, when we know we're gearing up for season 40, that possibly is going to have an influx of champs, or we just really want more champs, because we really just have Kara, Ashley, I hate to say it, like Camilla as multi-time champs. Like, let's start getting these girls to rack some numbers up.
Yeah, this is a strong group of females too. So if we get to the end of this and a man wins, it feels wasted that we had this really excellent crop of women and none of them are going to be a champion after all of this. If that's what happens, that's like the predictable outcome to me. I would just love to see one of them get to call themselves a champ after this.
Agree.
There's just a dearth of new champions in general. I made that post a few weeks ago where since 2013 we've only had 7 men become new challenge champions first, like win their first title, and 2 of those are Jordan and CT. So CT didn't even win his first championship until the last 10 years, and he's one of the most prolific champions in the game. Who, like, you know, it's not like some new people are getting titles. It's the guy who had already been doing it for a decade.
Right.
It makes me, yeah. No, it makes me like, you know, it makes sense why people like Fessy and Leroy who don't have titles are still very good competitors for this generation, because it's hard to fucking win. There aren't a lot of opportunities.
They didn't come up on the team seasons where 12 people won or something. Like, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we understood that. Veronica's who I'm talking about. Okay, anyways.
No.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, it's true. I like Veronica just fine. But like she did benefit from some team seasons, and I think she would have been it too. Not
For
that
sure.
she wasn't like really good back then, but
yeah. She was I'm a defender of her championships over other people who won in that era, because I think she did more than a lot of people back then. But yeah, obviously she benefited completely. A lot of people did.
There was some consolation.
Now, moving on, we had a daily challenge. It was dumb. I'm just gonna say it was dumb. We had a bunch of people inside cages. It looked kind of cool. Like for a trailer, it looked cool. But the actual daily challenge was boring because they're just dropping balls to their teammates as they solve a puzzle and they transfer it to each other. The only highlight was, I think, Nerys being one of the only girls to be on there, hyping herself up and then getting hit in the face with the ball.
And then making a clearly poor choice in her confessional, saying, in high school, I was the girl always getting the face with balls. She knew how that would come off, but nonetheless, I'm sure people are going to have a heyday with that.
Yeah, I can see the tweets now. Yeah, again, it's just another challenge where we don't get to see anyone do anything at all.
Yeah, if anything, like, who wasn't on top of the pyramids? Jay and Ed?
Yeah.
Like, if anything, Jay looked a little bit impressive, but because he could put balls in a hole quickly that were thrown to him quickly.
But his team was also getting them to him faster. Like, I don't think Ed would have been hit in the face with one if, like, his team just wasn't getting them to him fast enough.
Yeah. I don't know, too much Ed on this episode for me.
I was sure Ed was going home during this episode because we got so much Ed. I was like, oh, okay, this is the edit that they're finally telling us something about Ed, which means he's going to go home.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, I put him in the thumbnail for this episode because, like, he was pretty prominent on the episode. But don't do that again, please.
Ed speaks like someone who sends a lot of emojis. Like, I don't know how to describe it. There's a lot of emojis in the way he's just talking, and that is just not real words. He's just emoticoning with, like, he's not a real person. He's just not a real person at all.
The thing is, like, I think I know he's very intelligent. Like, we've seen what he does. But I think he's somebody who tries to play up a character almost for a show. Like, I'm from whatever the place is in New Jersey. He always says Pinsahawkin, Chalkin, something. And, like, I'm going to like, he throws on the accent too much, even on the circle with his mom. Like, it was a character, like, I'm a mama's boy. And it's, like, not believable. Because if that's really you, do you really have a girlfriend that's that pretty?
Yeah, I just, like, I don't have a read on him at all. And I agree. I think he's always, like, putting on some sort of weird persona when he talks. Like, I wonder what it's like to sit down with him and just have a normal conversation, because I don't know, it's just something about like the cadence and the tone of his voice. It's too much. It just doesn't feel real. And maybe he's just annoying. Like, some people do just they're just grating. They just get on people's nerves. But people seem to really like him. So he doesn't get a lot of camera time. So all we get are these little clips of him in the confessional in which he's just a caricature of a human being.
Yeah. And I want to say, like, I've watched his brother on like 3 different reality shows now at this point. His brother doesn't act like that. And I can't imagine that their upbringings were that different, being like 2 years apart to
Who's
the
older?
point Ed is.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm shocked his brother's not been on the challenge, to be honest, because he's done like more on reality TV, Netflix at least, than Ed. But maybe he's in cahoots with Netflix. I don't know. But yeah, Ed's insufferable.
What do you think? What do you think of his brother, real quick? Like, what do you like? I think he's kind of like. I think he's
he's a loser.
I think he's a sociopath. I think he's like. I think his brother's a sociopath, and like I think Ed is also a crazy person, but in a like a positive way. Like he's like much nicer, at least.
His brother is fake nice in a way that it's deceptive. Where I think Ed actually is deceptive. Not to get on tangent about his brother. His brother's cruel. Like, I guess we've watched the same shows. His brother's insane. Anyways.
I don't watch enough reality TV or TV in general.
I'll fill you in after this.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
I'm glad we have Luke for this stuff because I'm out of the loop.
Okay. The only good part of this daily challenge is that because there were 2 teams, it meant whoever lost, there wouldn't be a lot of options on the table for who could get thrown in. So a lot of people were scrambling that have never scrambled before. The winning team for the challenge was Raven, Emmanuel, Moriah, Colleen, Asif, Zara, Jay, and Horacio. And the losing team was Nerys, Olivia, Michele, Ed, Berna, Corey, Kyland, and James. Now, we come out of the daily challenge, and the winning team is making their decisions. And I want to give a shout out to Horacio real quick, because he tried to pull a really slick move, and be like, he asked everyone who is one name you can't say, rather than immediately going for who should we target as his means of trying to protect Kyland. Because everyone said their names, he's like, oh, well, I can't go for Kyland, and he was just hoping that they could maybe get someone else's name out there that no one's protecting.
Yeah, I think it's smart. I'm not going to downplay it completely, but it's less smart since he's the only person who said Kyland. Like, I think it just shows that Horacio doesn't have a good read on the game.
I think he did have a good read on it. I think he was just he wanted to force Jay's hand into showing to really show his cards.
Fair.
He wanted him to own it. And so by doing that, Jay had to kind of let people know where he stood, and that made the episode way more interesting, because now we have this fracture among these guys who, like, some of them thought that they were in a very tight-knit 1, 2, or 3 amongst each other, and they're finding that that's not the case.
Yeah. And I after watching this, I thought, why didn't Jay just say, like, Asaf is my friend. You went after him last week. Like, this is just payback? Because Kyland's not been hanging out with him since when Melissa was there. But I keep forgetting they've got this weird secret friendship. Nobody knows that I'm his baby's uncle. I don't know. It's weird. So you're right. Maybe it was smart to make people show their cards.
I think he could have played it better. I think he could have held his emotions in check a little bit and, like, played it a little closer to the vest. But he found out what he was looking to find out.
Yeah.
His suspicions were affirmed.
And to me, it was very clearly going to be 7-1, so that was the only method he could even have, just the only long shot chance of saving Kyland. It didn't work out. Jay didn't talk, and really interesting too is that Kyland gets voted in, and Kyland goes to Zara after, and I thought it was actually a very interesting thing for Kyland to say. She's like, she has no reason to lie to me. She'll tell me what Jay was actually thinking. And I thought that was just a really good scene and a really good way of trying to figure out what's happening, rather than talking to the same alliance who's just going to peddle lies And, you know, I thought that was actually like an interesting challenge political scene.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it was one of those moments where sometimes Kylan can seem like he has no idea how to play this game, but this is where his like student of the game persona, how he studies it, he thought through all the potential options of wherever those conversations could go and realized that he would get the most honest answer out of Zara.
There was a slight second too where when people were saying who they could protect, almost everyone said Ed. A couple people said James, and then obviously he said Kylan. There was a slight chance where you'd be like, okay, well Corey's the one name nobody's said here.
Right.
Corey skating through this episode without catching any strays was fascinating to me.
And I don't mean to be like shady at all. I had kind of forgotten he was on the season till like the end of this episode. Not in a bad way, like earlier episodes for sure. Last episode, nothing of importance. The beginning of this episode, don't remember much. So him skating by is, like Zoe said, a miracle considering how his trajectory looked at the beginning.
I want to know what he did in a week to make these women think that he was trustworthy again. And like, he seems like he's always gaming. I think he's always having conversations, always trying to like get in everyone's good graces. And honestly, the women would be smarter to keep Corey around because as far as the males go, he's a much more easily manipulated male for them because he cares more about the women than the men.
For sure. And for him, it's a little self-serving too, because he could probably beat them at a lot of things.
And I think that he's one of the men that they have a better chance of beating in a final also.
Yeah.
He's got to be doing everyone's dishes or something. Like he really worked his way into good graces after that messy couple of weeks. Now, we then went back to the house, and it's Ed, James, and Corey's name on the table. We see those three scrambling, trying to talk their way through the game. The idea is that it's going to be James because obviously the internationals have been going in again and again. He's not part of the U.S. alliance. Corey and Ed have a lot of connections. The funny part, though, is we actually see Ed. He's like, well, maybe Corey is actually the better person to go into elimination because he's a bigger threat in the final. And Corey is like, well, maybe Ed's the better person to go into elimination because he's a bigger threat in the final. And James is saved by the fact that he can't run a mile. Like, that is like, they're almost going to go after each other because everyone knows James can't run. It's why he didn't participate in the daily challenge and Nerys did, because he can't fucking run.
And I'm kind of surprised that they're not using the tactic of, hey, let's send in this person because I feel like they could be the champ. Like it's totally a cop out to like send in a big threat, but like it's a way to boost somebody's ego as you send them in. So I don't get why they're not doing that because Ed would have been the obvious answer.
That knife cuts both ways. We want you to send you in so you can keep money, but also in our head, we're sending you in because you're a threat and a champ could take you out. Like it's a win-win. You don't tell that person that, but like it is a win-win.
It was good though to see people actually like take shots at other people in their alliance. Even if it didn't happen, they were just talking about the idea of it. Fine, because it's always been the let's go after the internationals, let's go after Melissa and Big T for 4 or 5 straight weeks. Now people are starting to actually play the game a little bit. Now we're seeing that.
Well, James is the only guy left.
Right, and can we just jump into it, like with Moriah? Because I think that's where we're clearly going.
Because yes,
like they had one more week of keeping it pretty simple. We've gone back and forth the past 2 weeks on here of whether or not Moriah's playing a smart game. She's not. She's not.
She's playing a messy game. She's playing a messy fucking game. And I keep flipping between both sides because there are parts of her argument that I actually don't hate. And then parts where she's just completely sabotaging your game for this guy who we're going to get more into it a bit later, but just like isn't playing a good game for himself. So why are you trying to play a good game for him? She's trying to cut a deal with Nerys being like, hey, I won't say Horacio in the future if I win a daily challenge, which isn't a good deal for Nerys at all. It's like, because that's banking so much on the future.
She even made comments, Moriah, who I'm talking about, to Michele, like, well, you would save Jay and before whatever his name is, British guy, forget his name, James. And Michelle's like, well, duh, like he's in our alliance. Like, what's not clicking for you? Here's the thing. This is a decision Moriah could have made a couple weeks ago, and we talked about this last week, and then maybe pulled in a big T, Melissa, Zara, Kieran, Callum before they went and got some numbers that way if she really wanted to do that. And I know her relationship hadn't developed that strong at that point, but now's not the time. You don't rock the boat when the writing's on the wall.
This is where Moriah is playing a messy game. This is not good for her. It's clearly blowing up in her face. The one thing I think she could say that would have people at least like okay with what she's saying, if she said to all the girls, obviously I want him around for my own personal reasons, but let's be real, all of us can beat him in a final too. So like, you're giving me what I want, and selfishly I'm happy about that, but like, we can all also beat him. We can all run more than him. Like, we will literally leave him in the dust. So let's keep him around.
Yeah, and you saying that made me remember. She also said he's going to vote with us every single time, which is a nice ploy, except they already have such a mass. Like, why do you need another person added to the mass if you're just going to chip away later? So I'm with you. Like, it goes two ways. She definitely could have played it better.
And like, hey, he's a big like meathead. Let's use him to eliminate some of these other meatheads in physical eliminations moving forward.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a move. Like that people can get with, but she's just playing an emotional game. Like,
well, even Michelle like pulled her in front of that mirror and was like, he's not good for your game. Like, you're getting pretty overwhelmed and thinking about this Johnny situation too much. The more that he's here, the more you're going to think about it. And she's like, oh, this has nothing to do with Johnny. I feel like she likes James for sure. I'm not going to like negate that, but him being there is a constant reminder. Like, I just don't see how it couldn't be.
I think it's a distraction for her at this point. I think it's
Right.
like the thing that stops her from worrying about what everyone's saying about her at home. And I think when she steps back from it, then she gets anxious. So that's like her just a total distraction.
And if only she knew that when this was foiled months ago that she was hooking up with James, that people on Twitter were praising her and sending nasty tweets to Bananas. I wish she could have known that, but hey.
This showmance is like the biggest double-edged sword for her because this is far and away like the most relevant she'll probably ever be on the challenge. Like, she's getting so much story. We've talked about her for 3 straight weeks, like pretty decent amounts of time. Like, she's getting storyline. She might be on future seasons now because of this. Like, she's an important character on the show. At the same time, it's hurting her game so much, and it's because when you build that show match with someone, you spend all your time with them, and it limits the connections you can make with another man in the house, which is like somewhat important because that's why I understand that she has him as such a high priority, because she looks at Horacio and like, well, Horacio has Olivia and Nerys. Jay has Michelle and Nerys. Like, literally everyone every guy has the girl they're looking out for, and she doesn't have a guy like that in the core alliance. So that's why she's going to gravitate towards James. And then once you get the showmans going, it's hard to even talk to any other guy.
That's true.
Yeah. She doesn't have a guy that's going to end up protecting her when the votes start swinging at anyone in any direction. Because eventually they are going to have to come for each other in some way.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I loved watching her become a little unhinged, though. Her confessionals when she was like ready to pop off, I was like, okay, follow through now. Better pop off.
Right.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
She was working though. She was walking to everyone. She was talking. She was putting in so much work. That's what I appreciate, because she's actually like, look, it's sabotaging her game, but she's making the effort. She's at least she's going all the way in. That's all I ever want from a reality star is fucking commit to playing the game, commit to what you're doing. It's not the best game, Moriah, but you're committing to it at least.
Unlike the person she was trying to protect.
Fucking James is awful, and that's what we're gonna move into. Awful fucking player. Literally at the deliberation, she's begging him, hey, can you go just talk to Olivia, talk to Nerys, because I'm telling them all these things about you, and they're not willing to make deals because you're not even having conversations with them. And he's like, well, I'm a winner. I don't really do that. I don't really kiss asses. Like, he's like, I'm not asking you to do that. Just an olive branch of friendship. Just be a decent person and play the game a little bit, because I'm playing it a lot for you.
red flag. Like, and I'm not just talking about the game. She is putting her neck on the line to try to save this man, and he is telling her that it's not worth it and he's not appreciative. What? That should have been, she should have at that moment gone to the room and been like, girls, I messed up. It's James. I get it. He's not going to fight for himself. I'm not going to fight for him either. It was pitiful to see.
It's
Like,
just, it's so frustrating when she's doing this for him, and she clearly understands, like, there is a portion of this game which is talking to people that you have to do in order to move further, and she's doing so much trying to get them both further in this game, and he's not willing to do the bare minimum. Like, and he's delusional, no self-awareness about his abilities, because I would say 85 to 90% of people left would mop him in a final. And that's just because I don't really know what everyone's capable of. I think everyone left on this cast would crush him in a final. And that is so infuriating to me. Like, moments like that make me want him not on the cast at all. Replace him with someone who gives a shit. The only thing that's made him interesting this season is Moriah. So why are you here? You're wasting a spot.
I don't even know why he was cast on this show based off his challenge UK. Like, he got 2 black eyes.
Oh.
He's a waste.
He's big.
Right.
That's it.
All he's done is beat Chauncey, where he looked embarrassing, and Chauncey is one of the worst players to ever compete on this show. I'm just gonna say that. I think he is. He shouldn't be on this show. I mean, other than like this storyline, he's not worth it. He's just not worth it.
Yeah, great for that. See you never. Can we talk about some more delusional people?
Yeah, let's talk about some other like unhealthy relationships going on right now.
Michele and Berna. I mean, there were like 3 different instances in this episode where like it got unhinged, and I'll let y'all talk about it more. But the one comment I want to start with that really just flew all over me is like when people were talking to Michele, like, maybe Berna's not that great for you, and she's like, I see her as a sister. I see her as a friend outside of this game. It's like, whoa. Michele, you are on what, 2 episodes of Spas, Laws, and Allies where Berna didn't even speak to you? Where's the sisterhood coming from?
I think that they bonded over FaceTime between seasons, being lonely, feeling like people didn't like them. They were both targets of Amanda Garcia hatred, okay? Like, yeah. I think that makes you get up in your feelings, because Amanda's rarely wrong about people. So and especially if she starts to talk her shit on, whether it's on the show or it's on Twitter, she's going to have a bunch of people rallying behind her. I think that they fell into some weird codependent relationship because no one else wanted to be friends with them. And I think now, though, Michele has friends, and she doesn't want to be friends with Berna anymore on some level. Some level, she's her sister who they cried together. And
right. Well, and I think you speak to a good point that like can't be forgotten, even about Michele's Survivor game. Like, she's good at making people feel good.
Yeah.
So
and
like,
I think that they just became each other's like lonely little companions. But it was my favorite part of the whole episode, because I know that people are going to say Berna's crazy, but I think she read everything going on exactly for what it was.
Oh, I think you're so right. Like, I don't think we touched on this, but like at the beginning of the episode, people were saying like Jay and Michele are running this. Like, I think it was Horacio that said it. I'm jumping back, but I think it's worth mentioning. Like, yeah. Jay straight up to Colin's face said, you didn't hang out with people, just like Nerys and Horacio aren't hanging out with people. Like, put a target on his back, and he was scotch-free. And people are starting to piece together. And Berna, who is, from reputation, crazy, Zoe's right, was making so much sense. She's not Michelle's number one. If it gets down to that core group, Berna is out the door, without question.
I just think Berna, most people, those are inside thoughts, but all of Berna's thoughts are outside thoughts. Like, they all come out of her mouth. And so where most people are like knowing that they're being a little paranoid and that it's going to make someone uncomfortable if they address this with them, Berna will address everything with everyone at any point. And everything she said to Michele was 100% spot on. It just isn't something she wanted to talk about.
Yeah. And little sidebar here. I don't know how to feel about this, but Berna and Turbo both are going to be on Survivor, All Stars, whatever, like really long version over there. So she's going to miss the reunion, which, whatever. I kind of wanted to see Berna on season 40 just to see her interact with more like vets, because hopefully that's what the case is. But like, I feel like if she doesn't do 40, who knows if there could be any more seasons, but like, that's a season you would need to do to keep relevant on the show. I don't know. I hope that I'm wrong, but I'm like, oh, is Survivor Turkey more important than the challenge in the USA? I don't know the viewership and the money. I don't know, but she's grown on me. Not that she's like great just because she's delusional, but in a fun way, but also making sense. I don't know.
Let's talk about the Michele side of this though for a little bit. Let's talk, because I think you're right. Berna was right in everything she said to Michele. At the same time, if you're Michele, it just has to be the most tiresome thing ever because it's like she is Berna's one friend in the house. I guess there's Emmanuel, but I don't ever want to think about Emmanuel in the house. She's her one friend in the house, and she's not like Berna's not her top priority. At the same time, Michele is the reason Berna is still in this game. She's the reason she like hasn't completely fallen off the rail multiple times. She's the one convincing people she can be a number for us. We could work with her. Don't vote her in. And Berna is a responsibility to her. So when they go to the club and they unwind, she doesn't want to fucking hold her hand. She wants to party. She wants to drink. She wants to have fun and doesn't want to deal with Berna just being the handful that she is.
Well, and I also want to add too, like, I'm glad we have these fights at the club because they add to the show. But genuinely, the house has so much downtime. Like talking about the house, don't do it without drinking.
No, but Berna wants to be the most important person in Michele's life. And she's so sad that Michele doesn't want to hang out with her at the club because she's not fun. And like Berna even saying out loud, I don't want these other girls to like me because they like you. Like she understands everything that's going on right now. The only reason people are tolerating her is because of Michele, but it's still making her mad.
Well, and it's funny because that was verified like 2 minutes later when Olivia was like, yeah, we really didn't like Berna, but we're seeing her good part. Like,
it's so funny.
Yeah. And like Olivia coming up at the bar, not reading the situation, like, girls, let's go dance. And Berna like shooting that down. It's like, here was your out to say, like, hey, maybe I do have some friends. Maybe people do want to hang out with me. But no, just Michele. It's like that girl in kindergarten that's like, I can only have one best friend. And their best friend hates their guts.
If Berna's not chosen first, she doesn't want to be chosen at all.
Yeah.
It truly is like a freshman year of college thing where it's like, this is my roommate, we're best friends, and then no one else likes the roommate. That's like, and look at those 30-year-old people in the challenge house living in that room with the 4 beds, just in a fucking 100 square feet. It kills me every time. It kills me every fucking time.
It's too much.
I'm going to watch that segment back so many times because I just thought it was one of the funniest things I've seen all season.
Yeah, I agree. I've also seen people on Twitter say like Michele was like irrelevant this season despite having a lot of confessionals. I don't get that. She's had a hookup with a cheater. Like she's made some political moves. Like sure, she's not like stood on a table and like slammed bottles and screamed at somebody because she's playing a smart game.
And
like
I think they're mistaking irrelevant and safe.
Right.
She hasn't been in danger. That doesn't make her irrelevant. She's a very relevant factor in this season.
Yeah.
I loved her on this season. I think she's been good. I mean, not the greatest season I've ever watched, but she's a solid contributor.
Yeah, and I'm going to go.
Well, I was just going to say, she's looked so beautiful in this episode. She's beautiful, period. But every time she was on screen, I was like, Michele, you look great.
Yeah, and I'm going to go out on the ledge and say this has been my favorite since Total Madness, which isn't saying a lot, but...
The season in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's nice to see Michelle's back not up against the wall the whole season, too, because I think that she's a fun character, and I did like the moment of self-awareness where she was like, I have too many friends, and this is becoming a problem.
Yeah.
We had a little deliberation after this. Kylan made a joke like, "Oh, this is Melissa's funeral. I'm not attached to her anymore." I thought that was actually uncalled for. Everyone laughed, but I thought it was a little uncalled for.
I thought it was funny.
I thought the like independence joke was funny.
Yeah, that was that.
The
That
other
was-
one, I just like,
yeah.
whoa. Like, I wasn't offended, but definitely a weird thing to say.
I think that he so rarely says anything funny that it made it funnier.
Yeah.
Because he's not who I would expect to make a joke.
Well, and I think too, it's a funny way to acknowledge, like, yeah, I was caught up with the opposition. Like, I liked her, but she's gone, so here I am.
It's also poking fun at him killing his own game by being attached to her. Like
Yeah.
there was layers to that joke. It was an onion of a joke. So I liked it. Not a bad joke for a robot, you know?
Yeah,
True.
yeah. No, I had a chemistry teacher once who would crack a joke like he was the most like serious guy that would once a month just fucking have the whole class rolling. It was one of those. All right. We then had people talking their cases. It was just a steamroll James. It was just James going in. He did not even vouch for himself in a good way whatsoever. He undid all the work that Moriah did for him. 7-1, I think, or maybe 6-2.
Yeah. I think the most interesting part about the deliberation was watching Moriah get more heated as it went on.
Yeah. And I almost said, what does she expect? I guess she expects her friends to have her back, but she forgets that they're also playing a game for themselves. Just sloppy.
She did look incredible coming out of that little deliberation thing. I thought her body was like she was walking and it looked like a photoshopped body. Like she's so ripped. Like it was I couldn't
Imagine if she volunteered. I'll go down this place. Now that would be some messy gameplay.
fucking Katniss Everdeen ass.
She would do better than him in most eliminations, especially in endurance one.
True. Yeah. But yeah, I was glad that James was the pick to go in. Like, it just makes sense.
It would have been really interesting had it not been him.
Yeah.
It's such a roll of the dice at this point in the game too, because still it's only a 1 in 3 chance once they even get down there that their name is picked.
And I just thought of this too. Moriah also could have taken the vantage point of throw Ed in. What's the likelihood he's going to get mad? It's all good, guys. Like, I think back to Spazaz and Allies, he like asked to go against Logan or not go against Logan, whatever that weird situation was, and it sent him home. And plus, Moriah could have said, if he comes back in the house, who else is he going to work with? He has no choice but to work with us. So can we not just save James for this one time?
I unfortunately think Moriah loves Ed. I think that's like her number 2 guy in the house. I think he's a lot of girls 1 or 2 in the house. Yeah, so I think that's what it comes down to.
There's stuff about Ed that we're not seeing, guys. We just have to accept that fact.
I think he's a phenomenal player. I think in terms of like actual competitive ability, I think he might even be
Who did Berna say he was a mix of? Turbo and CT?
Yes.
That was a little much for me. Berna, relax.
And worse than her saying it was him being like, "Oh yeah, for sure, that's who I am." Like he.
I actually think he might be the strongest competitor in the house. Like in terms of like, I don't know what his cardio is. We don't.
We can't know.
Yeah.
No, the challenge has not allowed us to even have any idea.
The only reason I say that is because we had like that swimming challenge where he was clearly the best swimmer, and then there was the challenge where they had to do all the math, and him and Kylan were the 2 people who were only capable of doing it. So that's the only reason I say that, and he was like a collegiate athlete. He does have a good like.
You have a legit reasons. It's all silly. It's just all.
As I'm saying all this, I'm like, never cast this man again. Never cast this fucking man again, because I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
It's clear he's like developed relationships with people and he's like getting along. I know that so much stuff has to get left on the cutting room floor. I want to know why people feel so protective of him to some extent. Because I don't feel like I'm seeing any of that other than him just every once in a while plopping down on the couch next to someone and like saying some dad joke.
Right.
That is kind of his advantage, though. He's like in a very serious relationship where he's not flirting with anyone that way. He's just a platonic friend that people could have in the house, and that's an advantage he has over other people. Where he's actually building connections rather than Callum, who's cheating on his girlfriend, or James just only being with Moriah and stuff like that. You know, it's an advantage he has to his game. It's boring TV though.
If that's true, and I don't know. Allegedly, he had something going on with somebody else. Maybe they cut it out. Maybe that's why we're not getting anything. Respect his relationship. Allegedly, who knows?
The worst part is I don't even know what you're fucking talking about. That's like the
There's some speculation that him and a blonde on this cast had fun, but it's alleged. It's alleged.
Melissa or Colleen?
I don't know. So we get to the elimination. TJ is like, hey, we're going to bring out this champ. They're one of the best to ever do it. Yada, yada, yada. Mariah's panicking that it's going to be bananas, which, God, I wish it were. And that he pulled James, anvil. And then James beat him, actually. But alas, it was another great champ. Darrell.
I love Darrell. Pretty simple as that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Darrell is a GOAT to me, even if he did get a lot of his wins in that bullshit era of the challenge where a lot of people won.
Hey, but some of them were partner challenges, and had he not punched Brad in the eye, he would have won that season too. Like,
yeah, but let's not act.
Do you disagree, Allan?
Steve carried his ass on Fresh Meat.
I disagree only because I always think that if he doesn't punch Brad, then they have more people in the final, and if you have one more person, it takes more time. And Kellyanne and Sarah were right there. That's my thing. Where like if they had one more person, it would have took them a little more time, and the other team could have just won the final. Because that's always been my thing. Because it was such a slight margin, and having more people that had to go through all the checkpoints one at a time. That's
fair.
What an awesome different result that would have been.
Yeah. Oh God. So crazy.
But anyway, yeah, Darrell's dope.
Yeah.
He's also just hilarious. He's like willing to make fun of people. He just comes in, roast James, roast Kylan, roast the people in the crowd, and yeah, Darrell's just a good time.
Yeah, I love him. He's always good. Like he's good in a heights challenge because he's a baby, and he'll say things like tangerine puzzles. I think that he is one of my favorite cast members that's ever been on this show.
I agree. And he won Champs versus Pros, which I think I don't think Champs versus Stars should count as a win necessarily, but like Champs versus Pros was pretty legit. And he got second in All Stars 1 and All Stars 2, if I'm right, with Janelle.
Yep.
So even with age, you're right, Zoe, he's very legit still.
Well, he's just in such great shape. I mean, Invasion wasn't that long ago, and he torched Zach Nichols in a physical elimination.
Yeah. Can I make a comment about Invasion really quick on the line of champs coming in? And it is such a tangent. Allan, please forgive me. We're talking about these champs coming in. Can you imagine the introduction of Ashley Mitchell coming in? If he just said 10 seasons ago, this girl wasn't a champ either, and she came in on Invasion of the Champs, or she had to beat the champs to blah, 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 blah. Well, this season, she's in there. Like, they could have done so much with it.
When you're bringing on people like Casey, who, well, is a physically dominant competitor, has no personality at all, Ashley is a star.
Kaz should have never been on this. I am so frustrated because all the other champs are from the U.S. iteration, and I get that Kaz won the global thing with Jordan. It doesn't matter. They could have got another female champ. Well, the only one they could have got was Ashley, but they could have got Ashley. Sarah Rice wouldn't do it. John A would probably do it. You're right.
John A's taking a lot of challenge paychecks right now. She's living up the challenge life again.
As she should.
Even give Veronica a puzzle elimination.
That's true.
I like the
Anyways,
idea. No, it's
yeah.
a great visual, and I want to say this: Invasion's low-key becoming a long time ago, and I only say that because like that's when I started. I'm getting old.
2014, right?
2017.
That's better.
But okay, but it's gonna be 2024 in like 12
Yeah,
days.
A couple
I was
weeks.
like, I was like, that was 6 years ago. It's like, no, it's basically 7.
Because like we've been stuck in 2020 for fucking 3 years now, so like time just moves at a different pace.
Sure does. All right, Darrell comes in.
Darrell comes in.
Like it's 2001.
Yeah, he pulls Kyland. And I think you can see a little bit on Darrell's face. He's like, crap. I think if anything, he would have liked the Chaos one and have chosen someone from the crowd.
I also find it interesting. Darrell seems to be the first champ that the elimination was not catered to him. It was something he was very capable of doing, but it was not like, oh, we're going to bring Darrell in and give him a dub.
Right. And I think that's because the champs we've had so far are ones that they like would consider high priority on seasons going forward. Not that Darrell wouldn't for like a season 40, but like he is getting older. I don't think he wants to spend as much time away filming these seasons. Like that's why All Stars was his jam. Ride or dies, he got to come in late, left kind of early. Like, I don't know. Plus, I think he can take it on the chin and just say like, hey, if he loses, I lost.
How old is Darrell now, literally?
58.
Such an asshole.
I don't know.
He's like...
I think he's 43.
Yeah. Like, he also is not that delusional. He knows that these guys are like 30, some of them younger. Like, they're very much in their prime. And he, while still phenomenally fit and handsome, is past his prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. But James might be older than him. That dude's old as shit. He pulls Kyland, and the elimination, as you said, it's not catered towards his strengths. They have to stand on this platform they're tied to that has all these torch lighting areas. I guess I don't know how to describe it because there's
like a massive like Bunsen burner situation.
Yes, great visual.
Yes, and they have 6 totems that they have to light on fire, and it's very difficult to move it. It's very difficult to place it perfectly to where it will light on fire. And based on the competitors, it was very heavy and just a total core workout.
Which in some ways favors Darrell because he's still in great shape.
Yeah. It also favors Colin because he is too.
He is a little bit bigger. He has more weight, so moving this thing around just with your body takes less of a toll on him.
Yeah, I think it ties into what you said, though. It's definitely not catered to Darrell in its entirety.
Yeah, because he's not really a balanced guy. That's not his thing.
Yeah.
He's probably afraid of falling off the whole time.
Right.
He also openly says, like, I'm not the guy you want to see when there's a pole in the sand. And then they don't give him a pole in the sand. So
yeah,
the players were literally hooked to the middle pole because I was actually a little worried at first. Like, what if I slide off? What if I fall off and I catch? Because they're wearing like the flame retardant suits even as they're competing. It looked very intense. It looked very dangerous. This was one of the few challenges where I thought fire was actually cool because we often have unnecessary fire. This was like things were intense. It actually felt like an inferno.
Throwback.
No, yeah. I think it was cool too. And I think the elimination seemed like it took around 30 minutes, which I feel like is an appropriate amount of time for elimination to show that like it was challenging, but also not like so it was not so simply decided. There was an element of having to figure this thing out as they went along.
Mm-hmm.
During the elimination, people are trying to help Kylan with instructions, and he's literally saying in his confessional, nothing these people are saying fucking matters. He's like, until they're right here, they just don't even understand how to drive this machine.
Jay was pissed that people were helping him, correct? Am I remembering that correctly?
I don't remember, but it wouldn't be surprising because he really does want Kylan out of the game. And as much as... like, here's what I think the dilemma is for a lot of these people this season. do you want to win the season or win a lot of money at the end of the season, but winning more money is at the risk of people that can beat you? You should want Kyle.
Yeah. Well, I think he started to get paranoid, realizing a lot of the girls were like rooting for him, pulling for him, helping him, however they thought they were helping him. And he said something to the effect of like, I need to check back in with these girls and make sure that like basically they still like me more.
Yeah.
Jason's been getting on my nerves lately.
It's because he's taking the bandana off. It's like, keep that on, please.
Honestly, it might be part of it.
The elimination goes back and forth. Kylan gets the win. Fucking awesome moment for Kylan to, second elimination of the season, takes down Darrell. He walked into it confident, talked to his shit, saying, like, whoever comes in, I'm excited to take on a champ. He wins. Good for him, man. He's a good competitor. I'm glad he's going to stay in this game because it's also an added element of chaos. Am I excited for the Let's Just Target Kylan show again next week? No, but I like Kylan.
Yeah, and I was glad to see Darrell leave with grace, which I expected him to do just that. But like, he's just a class act.
Yeah, he even says to them, win the same way you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is that old school mentality. And I just think of it like, I grew up watching Darrell on this show, and it's very akin to like the athletes that we watched growing up. Like, I think of like the Derek Jeters of the world. That was the style of how you win, which I think is missing from a lot of sports these days. And I sound so old right now, but it just was reminiscent of like, oh, this is who this man is. This is like who he's always been, and he's reminiscent of an era of this.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Couldn't have said it better. So Allan's clapping his hands because guess what? At the end of the episode,
we got a daily challenge. We're going nighttime daily challenge. We're gonna put on the little headset. The little headlamps, and we're gonna compete at night. I love a nighttime daily challenge. They're always usually a little bit more fun than the regular daily challenges. I always think about the one from Rivals 3. That's one of the greatest daily challenges ever, where they're just all standing on the boxes. Whenever they do a nighttime challenge in Survivor, it's super cool. I'm down for a nighttime challenge.
Colleen's not.
No, she's
too much of her this episode. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just said too much of her. Like I literally don't even remember her from the episode much. But I'll agree with you. It's just too much. Probably going to be a women's week next week for elimination, and it'll be fascinating to see who gets nominated because you have Moriah, who's playing messy. You got Raven, who's just always going to be Raven. You got Berna, who is upset that she's not the biggest priority in Michelle's life. And you got Zara, who is probably the biggest threat of all the women in the house. Colleen, for existing.
Yeah. And the only two champs we know female-wise that are coming in are Laurel and Cara. So, like, it's going to be a big deal.
Oh, I'm so hyped.
And, God. So, we know with Laurel, she comes in. If she pulls that Chaos Dagger, we know who she's going for. We know she's going for Michelle.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something I only realized like a few weeks ago. Like, because Laurel fucking hates Michelle. And I'm just like, I'm so excited because like that's if she pulls the Chaos Dagger, you know that this shit's rigged. I'm just like, that's the most exciting potential storyline.
Oh, thank you for reminding me of that.
Yo, just seeing Michelle get anxious over the idea of that happening would be enough for me. But if it happened, oh, that would be the best. That would be so sadly Michelle also, though, to be playing such an excellent game and have it blown up by something like that.
The only thing that would save Michelle, and I do think this would save Michelle, is Moriah and Laurel are so close. Like, hang out together all the time. Like, just like 2 weeks ago, they were together. I feel like Laurel would look up and be like, Moriah, who do I send in? And she would say, don't send in Michelle. Because she said Michelle's her number one girl. So that could be a saving grace. I just thought of that. But I don't know. It'd be more fun if it's not.
My God, that'd be dope.
So yeah, we get it.
Their little ride or die storyline, that was probably my favorite part of that season. Those couple weeks.
Yeah, I agree. So the episode closes out with a mid-season trailer.
Always one of my favorite things.
Same.
It was one of those things that like it was a very good mid-season trailer. I want to say like they're teasing up a lot of drama. They're talking about trimming the fat, so we're going to see a lot of people get chopped off, which I'm excited for because we have a lot of useless people on the show. At the same time, I'm like, shit, this is the mid-season trailer. Why didn't we get this 3 weeks ago? Like we have another 10 episodes left. I don't mind. This season has been going at a decent pace, but I just don't want the season to drag out as it's been the last few seasons.
Yeah. So I wrote down some of the high points of the mid-season trailer. Berna versus Nerys, which there's been some small tensions there with like them throwing rogue votes at one another. I guess just Nerys, but like Berna lunges at Nerys. Michele and Jay have like a weird little rift with one another, which I think could be really interesting to see play out because they're ride or die and they're running the house for all it's worth right now. Like if there's a crack between them, could be fun. Colin and Jay have a moment, which I think is also, Zoe was just talking about it. Like Jay was getting pissed tonight when Colin was getting support. Olivia's crying and makes an offhanded comment about Horacio and Nerys. Nerys and Horacio like break up, it seems. Like he's sobbing and she's crying, saying, "Love is not for me."
Then there was a lot of clips shown of like Nerys and Kylan hugging and like supporting each other in the midst of some chaos. I'm curious to see how this all comes about.
You know what Nerys and Kylan hugging each other reminded me of? Wes and Evelyn on the Ruins when they had never been friends before, but they had gotten thrown in. They just gotten thrown in, and now they're just fucking wreaking havoc throughout the house. Evelyn's kicking trash cans. He's cussing out Johnny. That's what it gave me the same vibes of.
I hope.
Those Jay Kylan scenes had me really excited because I love to see Jay when he gets a little bit when someone gets under his skin and you see his real persona come out, like his real like not the surfer dude guy and I'm gonna be
when
I'm
you
gonna
see
be
Napoleon come out.
Sorry, I just watched the Napoleon movie like a few weeks ago, so I'm thinking of Joaquin Phoenix right now. Some tough looks from him in that movie.
Well,
fair. Any closing thoughts, y'all?
bring on the champs. Keep them coming.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see the goats come through. And the real goats, not the Tory deal goats.
That's crazy to hear Zoe say. Oh my God, I can't. Zoe likes Tory, so I'm shocked you'd say that. But
Zoe wasn't here with us last week when TJ called her the greatest player to ever step foot on the challenge. Like basically.
Dude, I like Tori a lot, and I think she's great. But I thought that was an insane thing to say.
And I would put out there too that you really dislike Kara. I probably think that Kara's better than Tori.
Absolutely, I do.
Crazy.
And I hate Kara.
Yeah, crazy world we live in.
If there's a Mount Rushmore of just who I hate, Kara's on it. Like, Nicole Zanata is too, and I have to think of the other two, but that's two of my I hate you the most.
It's like two global terrorists and then these these mid-tier reality stars.
I was literally just talking about the challenge, not like globally. I think in terms of like world terrors, they would both be not on it. But
got you. Maybe Nicole Zanata, but anyway.
Those are always my favorite. Those are always my favorite YouTube thumbnail videos where it's like the 10 worst people of the year, and it's like fucking like actual killers, and then it's like Kendall Jenner. It's like what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Oh wow. We had fun today. This was great because I didn't even think this was the best episode, but talking to you guys made me feel a lot better about it. Moriah's messy. James can't run a mile. Kylan won an elimination. That sums it all up.
Fucking nuts.
So crazy. Oh, subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you find us. At the Confessionals on Twitter. We all hope you have an amazing week. Happy holidays, whatever. Have a great time wherever you are.
Yeah, whatever. See ya.
Happy holidays.